President Trump's first campaign rally in months did not go exactly as the campaign had hoped. Joining me to talk about that and more is GOP analyst and political strategist and California State Assembly candidate, Dr. Melanie Burkholder. Thanks so much for being here with us. Saturday was not a good look for the campaign.
Yeah, it's very interesting because now we have the numbers that he was bragging about, our president was bragging about before the rally, and then the numbers just didn't seem to play true to the actual turnout. And then, AOC comes out with a tweet talking about how the president was duped, that there were, I don't know, the scandal is the tickets were purchased and then the people purposefully didn't go. I also heard reports of people that went that were turned away even though they had tickets. So I'm not sure how that plays out in the upcoming rallies, but it will be very interesting to see how the men and women of the Secret Service handle this situation.
But regardless of what happened inside the rally, they were expecting to address the overflow crowd, and they were hoping to see those crowds of close to 1 million people, the capacity inside the arena of only 20,000, and they canceled it because there was no one outside on the streets of Tulsa. I guess the question is, has the president gassed out? We saw him arriving back to D.C., getting off Marine One, tieless. He looked defeated.
Yeah, Marina, I wonder that too, but I also wonder if it is because we are in a global pandemic and places are opening slowly, and maybe people still feel a little bit of caution when going out into the public, and especially at something like a public event like that, a rally of millions, potentially a million people. So I wonder if there's a comorbidity, so to speak, where low turnout and also a result of the pandemic that we're currently in. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, in the next few rallies, how that turnout goes and if the numbers go up, because that's definitely an indication of how the president is doing on the campaign trail.
Well, he's always spoken directly to the base. He lives for these rallies. He's got another one in Arizona this week. If it's another bust like Tulsa, how does he get back on track? He's trailing in every poll, and you could argue that look at the polls in 2016. They also had him trailing. But it seems like his opponent has basically, according to the media, hasn't left his basement in Delaware. He's not speaking. He's not being seen. And the president is still trailing by double digits in most polls.
Well, I think if you're a Democrat, you want Biden to stay in his basement because every time he seems to pop out, it doesn't go well for him. But to answer your question too, why don't we just see how that plays out, make some adjustments, pivot, and move forward, gaining the trust of the American people to also rest assured that we're safe to go out in the community and to rally around the president if that's what we choose to do. So I just go back to, I do think that the American people are still thinking precautiously and carefully about when they do go out in public and what they do when they do. So,
well, and to your point, you were running as a Republican. I'm curious your take then, if you say that the community feels that the pandemic is legitimate, that they're afraid of the virus, why the president would go on stage on Saturday and then say that he's asking his people to stop the testing. We don't need any more testing. Why do something like that if you say that people are legitimately taking this seriously?
Yeah, I can't speak for why the president said that. I would never have said something like that. In fact, I think the testing is good. We're going to see numbers go up because of the testing, because more people are being tested. But it also might quell fears in the long run, Marina. If we know that people are being tested and there's a great number of people that have the virus that are not in the hospital, that are not having significant symptoms, then that is a positive thing. And that's a way to get on the other side of this, I think, and open the economy. I'm definitely for opening our economy back. And with each individual, they have to decide for themselves what risk they're going to take and if they're going to take a risk. I am not in that population of particularly, people that can get it easily. And I don't think I will get it. And if I have had it, I showed no symptoms. If my kids had it, they showed no symptoms. So with each individual accepting the level of risk they feel comfortable with is how we're going to get on the other side of this.
And this has been a president that has really been the most triumphant when it has come to things that are dealing with the economy. And obviously, because of this pandemic, things have really gone into a tailspin here. I'm curious, as a supporter of the president, Do you think that maybe he should have addressed at some point and had legitimate talks about race given the last month? Because he has been strong in supporting law enforcement, and yet he's been weak, really, in coming out and being some sort of what we seek in our presidents, the consoler in chief, and speaking to the nation at large to sort of unite. Is that something that his base rebukes, that they don't want to see?
Well, I am so glad you asked me that question because even here in the city where I live in North County, San Diego, we have protesters here, and I had the wonderful opportunity to have an almost hour-long conversation with the folks who are organizing the protests here. And, what we found out at the end of our conversation was that we both want the same thing. We want to end homelessness. We want to get people the help that they need. That's a really important thing. What we differ on is how to get there. I'm not, as a former Secret Service agent, I'm not a proponent for defunding the police, but also, Marina, I would tell you I was critical of the president for suggesting that social workers go on dangerous domestic violence calls and things like that, because what we need is additional resources for the police. But I don't think that, and we do need to end homelessness, right? But I don't think that you can initiate a program like having social workers go on dangerous calls with law enforcement. Now, there are some people like me, former federal law enforcement, current mental health therapists, that would be a perfect fit, right, to go on a call like that. But I just think we need to think outside the box. And when the president does something we don't like, we need to be critical of that. And I'm very vocal in that. I don't support everything he does or every tweet he sends. But I think when you consider the idea of defunding the police and you look at a city like Seattle where it just hasn't worked out, we've got to do better. We've got to think critically and we've got to do better. Every state has different credentialing processes for our processes for social workers. So I don't even know how that would work and the complexity of that matter. So.
And I'm curious, amongst, just anecdotally, amongst your fellow Republicans out in California, does it seem like they're energized to come out in November and support the president?
Oh, absolutely. I've been knocking on doors. People are ready to talk about politics again. We're all obviously observing social distancing while we do it, but people are engaged in California. This is a beautiful state. We can make California great again, of course, and I think we're going to do that in November with a red wave. We've got some ridiculous legislation coming out of Sacramento that is hurting our people instead of helping them, taking jobs instead of getting jobs, and that is just the wrong direction for California. And I sure hope to be part of that process of flipping it back and straightening this course and come November.
Melanie Burkholder, we appreciate your talking to you.
Thank you.
All right, Final Five back at you.